So I'm getting to talk to my friend. When I first got to know you, I just thought you were super nice, Jen Schroeder. I had no idea that you were this elite athlete, played softball for the national team at UCLA. You have a very successful coaching business, and I've loved getting to know you and getting to see the impact that you have on these young girls, women, and I had the pleasure of a couple of occasions to lead them on a guided meditation. And what kind of feedback, or what did you hear from them as far as what kind of an experience that was for them?
When you meditate, I don't think you realize the impact that it has on you in the moment. So the biggest feedback that I got that I held on to was how they felt after, how they felt the next day, especially those who have Whoop bands or who have aura rings, that their recovery scores were the best recovery scores that they had ever gotten. And so it wasn't necessarily what they experienced in the moment, but it's after. And I think as somebody who played softball at a really high level, right, the highest level that you could play at, your body and your mind get so tired. You're constantly doing the same thing every day. It's Groundhog's Day. You get up, you work out, you lift, you go to school, you go to practice, you do tutoring, you do your extra practice, you go to bed, you do it all over again. So if you could have something that resets you and that makes you feel fresh, that is the most important thing that you could do for yourself. And that's the feedback that I got from everyone. You know, the retreat, grueling 3 days.
Yeah.
These girls are just, their bodies are getting hammered.
Travel from all over the world to come to this retreat.
Yes, yeah, their bodies are getting hammered. Their brains are getting hammered. They're just tired. They're physically exhausted. They're emotionally exhausted. And it was such a good reset for them. And I heard from so many that they're continuing their practice, which I love that.
I love that. One part about the retreat that I found so fascinating was the session before mine. You had time for Q&A with the girls, and here you, Jen Schroeder, is the biggest of women softball catchers. They could ask, you said, ask us anything. You had some of your coaches that are like at the highest level, Olympics, national team. The questions that these young girls wanted to ask were not about strategy, position, equipment. It was about mental preparation and questions, mindset. I'll never forget one of the girls who mentioned that she had been hit in the batting cage, and so she was struggling getting back into the batting cage, and one of your coaches had some great suggestions and strategies. So that was so fascinating to me to really see it firsthand, and to see that these girls could have asked you anything and they wanted to know about the mental game of softball. So I love that.
I always say, and I'm sure you feel the same way about your profession, that I am a life coach disguised as a softball coach. I use softball to teach these individuals, these human beings, how to be better people. Because at the end of the day, you're going to play softball for maybe 4 years in college, but you're going to be a mom, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever you're going to be for the rest of your life. And softball is just the conduit that allows me to teach them how to be a good person. And the goal is that the mentality piece, whether that be meditation, visualization, powerful, positive thinking, carries them through whatever they decide to do in the long run.
Absolutely. It's a practice that will do nothing but help them to become better people, better human beings. So you mentioned that your dad would say, when does the game start? And the answer was the night before. So what do you think would be an ideal pre-game, depending on what type of sport you might be in, what would be the ideal pre-event preparation, mental preparation? What would you think would be?
So I think as an athlete, you know where you're playing, what arena you're playing in, whether it's a field, a stadium, a basketball court, wherever it is, a golf course. I think you kind of know where you're playing. And so if you can put yourself from the minute that you're getting dressed,
okay,
like you are laying down the night before, you're in bed, and you are actually watching yourself get dressed. You're feeling yourself put your socks on, put your shorts on, put your uniform on. That moment, because I think that's when you start to get a little bit of butterflies, right? That's when it becomes real, when you're getting dressed. So if you can visualize yourself doing that, getting in the car, what's your pregame routine, and if everything can stay exactly the same For
Interesting.
every game, I think that really, really has helped me.
So no surprises, just everything interesting.
Yeah. So for me, I would always put my socks on before my jersey. You know, I was like socks first, then
That was
jersey,
your
then
routine.
pants. Like everything had to be exactly the same because that's what made me feel comfortable.
And that's what brought you were able to come into the present. You know, I talk so much during meditation about being in the present moment. And when you're doing that with intention, when you're getting dressed, when you're preparing, you are doing that with intention and being in the present moment, not looking forward to the game and having any butterflies or anything nervous about, you know, coming up. What would you suggest would be if maybe you're in the actual game and things aren't going well?
So every stadium that I played in, I would pick a focal point.
Okay.
So normally it was on a scoreboard and maybe it was a letter on the scoreboard.
Okay.
So UCLA was called Easton Stadium. I'd look at the T.
Okay.
And the T would be where I would look at and just take deep breaths. So it was one focal point, deep breaths.
Okay.
Same thing, I would do it with my bat, and I swung an Easton bat too. So it was the T on the Easton
Right.
bat where I could look at that focal point, take a deep breath, and just come back to the present.
So that was your center. That was that, seeing that visual of the letter T grounded you, brought you back, no matter if, you know, you were down and needed to be brought back up, or sometimes I'm guessing as a high level athlete, you can get up high and you need to
For
come.
me, that would be more frequent.
Okay.
Of being too anxious, excited, right? You're playing in front of tens of thousands of people. ESPN is there. You know you're on national TV. You're competing for a national championship. You need to come back.
Down. Come down and go back to that T.
Yeah,
Go back
exactly.
to that T. And, you know, it's what I always say during a meditation before is I always share with my clients that you're going to have thoughts. You are going to be nervous. But to be able to come back and find your peace and find your calm.
And one thing you do with meditation that I love is at the end, you allow us time to journal. And I think that is another thing, if I could encourage athletes to do that at the end of practice or the end of a training session or the end of a game or the weekend, to journal about not just what you did and how you performed, but what were your thoughts
How
like?
did you feel?
I think it is so important.
That is huge. I never thought about that. I mean, obviously I do it during meditation, but I love that.
Keep a journal in your bag,
Keep a
your
journal,
sports bag.
right? And I believe that the journaling is also a way of getting things out. So getting it so that you can, I'm just guessing, when the game is over, that you, as that post-game ritual, journal it all out, and then it's done. Then it's out.
It's gone.
It's gone.
done.
You got it out on paper, and now you can look forward to what's next. You don't have to.
Because you're not carrying it
You're
around
not carrying
with you
it around
and feeling
anymore.
it.
Exactly. Do you have an anecdotal story of any athlete that was struggling and it wasn't the physical part, or it wasn't technique, it was because they were struggling mentally?
So I want to tell you about Kinsey Hansen, who right now is going for her 4th national championship at the University of Oklahoma. She's also our Team USA catcher.
I feel like I know her because you talked about her so much. I see her on your Instagram, so I feel like I know Kinsey.
So when she was a little girl, she was one of the best. I mean, at 9 years old, she's the first person who walked into my facility, and at the end of the day, I pulled her parents aside. I looked them in the eye and I said, "Your daughter is special. I need you to know this. Your daughter is special." Like, there's just never a doubt that she was not going to accomplish amazing things in the sport. And she is the best catcher in the world right now, without question. Wow. So for her, when you're like that, you are super high achiever. You want to be the best. You care more than anybody else because you have high expectations of yourself. And I think a lot of athletes are this way. They have these high expectations. So for her, it was kind of figuring out how to almost dumb it down in a way and remove some of the layers of the pressure and the intensity and just sit and write simple goals. So when she was a little girl, we sat together in my office and she just wrote her goals. I want to be a national champion. I want to be an All-American. I want all these things that as athletes we write and we think those are our main goals. So the day after you spoke at my retreat, she shared. And she, again, is the best catcher in the world. She's everyone's role model right now. And she told this story. And she said, "I've realized I have accomplished every single thing on that list. but I still don't feel at peace because it's not about accomplishing all those things. It's about, how do I feel? How am I doing this? Am I a good role model for the younger generation? And she shared with everyone that she wishes she would have been kinder to herself in her thoughts.
Wow.
Been softer to herself in her thoughts.
Wow.
And so it's been amazing to watch one of the best athletes in the world be more at peace with who she is as a person and just be more in tune with her self-talk, her thoughts, and really that's her meditation practice, right?
I love that.
Is just dumbing it down almost and realizing that she's so much more than an athlete. She's a mentor to people.
I love that she acknowledged that even though she reached these goals that she set for herself at a very young age, I loved that she realized that those weren't the important, fulfilling things in life that we, at a young age, for her to be able to acknowledge that is huge, because how many people go through their lives and never even spend any time thinking about that, about those important. That's what's going to stay with you. Is were you a good person? You just sit here and talk all day.
I know, for hours.
I love talking with you, but thank you so much. And people can find you pretty much anywhere. Where can they find you?
Instagram, Facebook, X, we call it X now, not Twitter. It's very weird. But at Jen Schroeder or at Jen Schroeder Catching.
And you also have a pretty successful clothing line. And where's that clothing line?
Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yes.
I'm wearing it.
Yes. All day and all night?
Yeah, all day, all night.
All day, all night.
Dick's Sporting Goods.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. I loved being with you
appreciate
today.
it so much.
Thank you.